Christine, it's your day. You are the chief moderator. Would you like to tell me how you were impressed by the day we had yesterday? I mean, I know you couldn't participate in all the sessions because you are vice president of your university and you have other obligations than just following sessions. But what was your impression about the last day?
Well, my impression was particularly, I only could attend one session, the discourse between Joel Bonner and Harini Nagendri, which was very impressioning for me to learn also the different perspectives from a really huge, almost continent in India, and the impressions that Joel shared with us on the local and indigenous knowledge. I think this is a crucial part in the research and also in the development on how biodiversity conservation can be accepted and how to engage the huge knowledge that we have, particularly in local communities that are often not so well integrated in our research. And I think what both shared was this huge mission of participation, making people really being committed and engaged in what we are doing. I was a little bit sad that I could not join earlier, but unfortunately, even if the train was in time, my hotel was not ready, and I was sitting in the front room waiting to get an internet access, and it was a little bit loud, so I thought it's maybe not so good to join in because there was a lot of disturbance. So I think what is your impression from yesterday, dear Volker? What are the key take-home messages that you want to communicate today?
I mean, I was mentioning this yesterday evening when we concluded the sessions. So for me, it was really very evident that reversing biodiversity loss is even much more complex than we thought, because it's not only a problem to natural sciences, biology, ecology, water, and so on and so forth. It's mostly a social issue. And so it's very complex. We talked about different value systems. We talked about teleconnections, environmental justice, and the role of indigenous people and traditional knowledge. So these are huge problems we have to address in the future. So it is a challenge, but I think we have to move on and go into our main forum.
You mentioned it. I think the aspect of social engagement and understanding becomes more and more key in biodiversity research. So what was your impression from this poetry slam as maybe a new format that we could use to make it more tangible for people?
This is exactly my impression. You know, such formats help us to get emotionally engaged. It's not just about ratio, about arguments. It's also about emotion, and it gets a kind of easiness how you address this topic of biodiversity. So I think it makes it much more human. So it's not just a scientific issue, it's also an issue about communication, about biodiversity mainstreaming. And their poetry slams or even art performance can be a very important strategy, actually, to help reversing biodiversity loss in the end. But this will be a long way.
I think this is a key message also today, because we will have this aspect of transdisciplinarity in one of our sessions. This is, I think, a key step forward, because very often in science, biodiversity science, we often speak about disciplinarity, interdisciplinarity, but engaging people also in the expectations, what should come out from science, and how should people be committed, or how can we make them part of this co-design and co-development, is something that was also raised by Future Earth much earlier, and which I think, from my perception, arrived a little bit late in the biodiversity research, but is something where I expect, at least for most of these sessions today, that we learn how these pathways to the future, together with stakeholders, with actors, can be developed. What would be your expectations for today and for the concluding messages. You cannot foresee, but I simply ask you.
I hope we can end with an optimistic kind of information. You know, this last day, second day, we will focus a bit on successful practices. I will say that just later on. And so I think at the end, we will also learn what are good practices like transdisciplinary approaches, co-design, and also real-world labs. How do they function? How can they help actually to, at least for certain areas and certain segments, how you can reverse the trend in biodiversity loss, at least for certain areas. But I think it's 9, according to my computer, it's 9:04. So I think we have to start with our general welcome. Is that correct? Then I would start with the official welcome, and then we move on. After a few minutes of my introduction, we move on with our sessions and forums. So an official welcome to all of you who are here early in the morning, 9 o'clock. That is pretty early for many scientists. Welcome to this second day of our conference, Reversing Biodiversity Loss, Conflicts, Telecoupling, and Successful Practices. I hope most of you could also attend the day yesterday. I loved it very much because I also like the format. We had plenty of time for discussion, and we will have this time for discussion also in this second day. But I not only liked the format, I liked all the information that was provided, and I'm a natural scientist, ecologist, biologist, geoscientist. I really appreciated all the information about the important social issues that we have to address when we want to protect, conserve biodiversity. So we started yesterday with a statement from our Minister of Science and Education, a very good statement, I would say. And then we had David Obura, chair of IPBES, with a great statement about the role of these science, policy, society interfaces. Then we addressed the topic of valuation of nature, and this was really a lot of new information to me, how complex the system of valuation of nature can be in economy, but also in, if you want to talk about social values. We had addressed the problem of telecoupling and environmental justice, also of a huge topic. And last but not least, we looked at how we can moderate conflicts that, of course, arise when you handle environmental justice or if you want to transform a system. And at the end, we had a funny poetry slam session by Tobias Zettelmann, really a wonderful end, I would say, for this kind of day. Very dense, very informative, and I really like the intensive discussions. Now, today, I would like to invite you to have now a closer look at successful practices. So we start in the morning with a plenary forum on the question to what extent land sharing and land sparing are antagonistic or synergistic concepts of conservation. So this will be the first forum. Then we look on transdisciplinary approaches and real-world labs. How successful are they? What are the problems that may occur if you use these approaches, transdisciplinarity or real-world labs? Then we move on with a networking process. Let me briefly explain how it works. It's relatively simple. You go to the platform. On the top, you see this indication of networking. You click there. And then you get a suggestion of 4 different people, and you can pick one and say, yes, I would like to talk to this guy or not. If you don't like them, you just click on it on one of the, or you can click to get a new set of 4 people that you can connect with. And then you can chat and talk and move on to other people. Now, after networking, we have our lunch break. We end our conference with a session on transformation in the afternoon, transformation processes, pathways to a sustainable future. A few technical comments. You know, you cannot really talk to the other people while you are in a plenary forum or in a session, but you may contact the people by using the F&A icon that you see in your platform, question and answers, Q&A. If you click there, then you can address your questions. Don't use the chat for asking questions. Use the FNA tool on your screen, question and answers, and there you can write your questions you may have to the various speakers. And that's about it from my side. I think it's, again, an ambitious programs, and I would like to hand over now to Christine Fürst to moderate the plenary forum, Land Sharing and Land Sparing, Antagonistic or Synergistic Concepts. Christine, the floor is yours.